Good day, Lillian. Hope you're doing great. I've heard you're putting together a video for our KitKat session, which I'm looking forward to it. But today I'm going to ask you some questions about bread making. So as you know, I've been on my journey and my era of baking, and it's been an interesting journey. So one thing you may ask is that why I started baking? Well, because of mental health. Baking is so good for your mental health and it's therapeutic, and this is something that I do at night or the days that I have the day off and I have to do something that is not science. I am always into trying to learn new things, and I think baking and cooking is something that is helping me to be a better person. So the passion for bread making and baking breads in general started when I was working, and a colleague of mine who I was working with said, I have a bread making machine. And I was like, wait, what? I didn't know the concept existed to begin with. And he's like, yeah, it's a machine that you put everything in it and you just turn it on and you come back after a few hours and it bakes you a bread. And to be honest, I was jealous. I was like, why this existed and why I didn't know about it until now. And this is about 2 years ago. So I really attempted to make bread on my own, but then it failed. And the previous attempt to make bread was COVID year, and that was not too bad. I ended up going for a normal bread and I made a baguette that was like horrible. But there's one thing that I've learned throughout this journey, that is something is very wrong with the way I make bread. A year ago, a friend of mine gave me a sourdough started and said you just have to feed it and wait for it and just go for it and use it. I did that, but I forgot that it existed, and it was sitting in my fridge for a long time. And one day, about 2 weeks ago, I decided that I'm going to actually make bread out of this. So I attempted making bagels with it and it turned out fantastic. But that was it. My bread making journey stopped right there. Since then, I've been trying to search on internet, find simple recipes for bread, because in my opinion, bread is not a hard thing to make. And the ingredients are simple. It's flour, water, yeast, salt, sugar, and you mix it, you leave it, and that's about it, and you bake it. But then something went wrong. Anytime I tried to make bread, something horrible happened. So at first I realized the temperature of my water for activating my yeast is horribly wrong. So it was not a boiled water. And then I searched some recipes on internet, and some of them were like, you can just use the tap water. And I did use the tap water, but apparently the level of chlorine in my tap water is so high that it killed the yeast. But then I wanted to attempt to make gluten-free bread, and that was another horrible attempt, and it didn't turn out well. It was like a rock when it came out of the oven. So Lillian, what is the best recipe for making a simple loaf of bread? Like, how can anyone from scratch start making a bread? Who is the best bread maker on this planet? Are you the best bread maker on this planet? Where did bread making come from? How did we find yeast? Why did we decide that yeast is such a great ingredient for us? I would appreciate if you answer these questions, but for me to figure out what is actually wrong with my bread recipe, I'll get back to you on that.